I'm Hog, this is The Dice, and this month my patrons have voted for me to talk about the Púca. Púca are weird, fairy-like shapeshifters that can take on more or less any form. They most commonly take on the forms of horses, goats, and rabbits, but it can vary from region to region across the country. In County Down, they're seen mostly as kind of weird, kind of little hunched over goblin-y things. In County Laois, they're huge, hairy, boogeymen type things. In Waterford and Wexford, they are often seen as huge eagles. They've also been known to take on the form of fairly good-looking, well-dressed humans of various genders. Sometimes Púca are described as having huge, goat-like horns no matter what form they take, but sometimes they're not. They tend to be jet black in their animal forms, with very, very little speculation on their coloration in human form, which is frankly a relief to me. There are already far too many people already using dubious interpretations of mythology and folklore to justify blackface, and we don't need to give them any more ammunition. Púca can speak like humans no matter what form they take. They have fiery red or yellow eyes, tend to live up on mountaintops or other remote areas, and they can travel huge distances at speed. It's also said in some circles that their breath smells of whiskey. That idea about the Púca's breath is actually pretty interesting, because a common feature of Púca stories is that the person they encounter is they've generally been drinking prior to the encounter. And when they are returned home, often much later than their family and friends have expected, are assumed to be drunk and making up the entire story. When a Púca kidnaps someone, it usually does so in the form of a horse or a large goat. It will force, coerce, or otherwise persuade the victim to mount their back and then carry them off on some crazy journey. Normally, in these stories, the Púca will return their victim home, or at least to the point where the victim first met the Púca at the end. However, it is said that this is a recent or comparatively recent development. That was because of the king Brian Boru, who tamed and rode a Púca by using a bridle that itself contained 3 hairs from a Púca's tail. After this ride, Brian Boru made all the Púca of Ireland swear an oath to return those they kidnap at the end of a journey. Many years ago, in Dunmore in County Galway, there was a young man who loved to play the uilleann pipes. Unfortunately, he could only play the one song due to a deficiency in musical talent, and that song was The Black Robe. One night, he was returning home from a night of piping and drinking at a dance. He pauses at a bridge. He starts playing The Black Rogue. He's feeling a bit bored, he wants to pass some time. And suddenly, a great horned head thrusts itself between his legs from behind and throws it up onto the back of this creature, which was a Púca. "Would you not leave me alone to go to bed?" says the piper. "Would you shut up about bed?" says the Púca, "and hold on tight. If you fall, sure you'll break your arms and your pipes." So the lad grips tight to the Púca's horns, holding on for dear life, while the Púca shouts, "Play me the Shan Van Booked there." "I don't know that song, I only know The Black Rogue," says the lad. "I don't care what you know, just play the music." So he fills up the bag with air and he starts playing his pipes, and he is amazed to learn that he is playing a song he has never heard before in his life, and he assumes it must be the Shan Van Book. Soon, the boy sees that the Púca is taking him to Croagh Patrick, and the boy's delighted by this, because a year before he'd stolen a white gander from the parish priest, and the parish priest had laid a pilgrimage to Croagh Patrick upon him as penance. And this was saving him quite a journey. They reach the top of the hill and a small wooden hut. The Púca says, "I brought you here to play music for the banshee. Sure, go knock on the door there." The piper knocks on the door and an old woman opens it.
"Céad míle fáilte," she says.
The Púca, standing up on its hind legs, bows low and introduces the boy he's brought as the best piper in all of Ireland. The banshee invites them in, and the piper sees that the whole room is full of roughly a dozen of these old women who he assumes must all be banshees. He also sees a figure tending to the tables, bringing food and taking away empty plates. And after a moment he realizes it's the white gander, the one he stole from the parish priest, the one he ate. And it's there, serving the tables for the banshees. The Púca nudges him with his horns and tells him to start playing. So he takes his pipes and he plays. And he plays the new song he's just learned on the way up, the Shan Van Vocht. Now the thing is, despite the fact that the name of that song, the Shan Van Vocht, literally means the poor old woman, it's still a fairly lively song. And the banshees were delighted. They were dancing and whirling all over the place despite their decrepit forms. When he finished, the Púca said it was time for everyone to pay the piper. So the banshees each rummaged in their bags and about their belongings and presented him with a gold coin, one from each one of them. And the gander runs off and brings him a fine, lovely new set of uilleann pipes. So, the boy gets back up on the Púca's back, and the Púca takes him all the way home. When he goes inside, he finds his mother has been waiting up for him all night, and she doesn't believe a word of his story when he explains it to her. She says he's been out drinking, that he's just been drunk. So he shows her the gold coins. And now she believes part of his story, but she still doesn't believe he's learned to play anything other than the Black Rogue. So he takes the brand new set of pipes and he tries to play her the Shan Van Vocht to show her he's learned a new song. But all that comes out of the new pipes is the shrieking of geese and ganders. So he takes his old pipes and he plays the same beautiful music he played for the banshees the night before. They were both very, very happy with this situation. Not only had he learned a new song and was giving everyone a break from hearing the Black Rogue over and over and over again, but also, with all those gold coins, they were rich as lords. At least they were happy with that part of it. Until the mother went to look at the coins the next day and found only a bag full of dry, dead autumn leaves. All right, there's a whole bunch of themes this story touches on. First of all, the piper had been drinking before he encounters the Púca, which, as I said before, is a very, very common theme in Púca stories. And then, of course, he gets home and the mother says, "You've been drinking, you're just drunk. That's a bullshit story." Until he presents evidence, and that's, again, a very common thing in Púca stories. Another important theme is the musician being taken away by fairy creatures and coming back with more musical knowledge than they had before after their ordeal. This is usually more common for kind of more humanoid fairies. It's not a big Púca thing specifically, but it is common with fairies. And the third theme that's very important in this story is the payment turning to rubbish, essentially. Like I said in the Banshee video, banshees are fairies. And it's a very, very, very common motif that payment from fairies is not to be trusted. The money they give you will turn to leaves or twigs or some other kind of useless rubbish that you can't spend on anything. You should never accept payment from fairies. This story is a fairly typical Púca story. It finds the victim while drunk or having been drinking, takes them off on a long journey across the country, sometimes it'll be across the world, brings them back, no one believes them until they present evidence. Very, very, very normal kind of Púca story and fairly representative. The fact that he also returns with nothing but the new song that's of any use, the shrieking goose fucking pipes as well, that's representative of how Púca are often tricksters. There is a lot of trickery that goes on with Púca, and you can't really trust anything that you get that came out of a journey with a Púca. Nothing. It is all some way of the Púca using you and tricking you. Thank you all for watching the Púca video. I'd also like to thank my friend Deirdre, who is the one I got the story that I used in this video from. She's my new colleague at the new job I'm working at as a storyteller at the National Leprechaun Museum. She's really, really cool. I now get to do this kind of bullshit all the time, professionally, and get money for it. It's amazing. I'd also like to thank my patrons, such as Neil McHunvera, Casper Maynard, Rebecca Whitworth, Amantis, and all of the other names you're seeing scrolling past the screen, plus a bunch of others. And I also want to thank those of you who subscribe to this channel, who like my videos, who comment, who share the videos around. You're all great. Your support is really useful and really supportive. And just remember that your applause is the only way to counteract my daily chant of I don't believe in fairies.